With genocide on us openly from Israel, it might be possible for my peers in Phi Theta Kappa to understand some of my points a little more clearly concerning what I've been researching over the years. As people who have looked very closely at my concerns, someone might remember that I saw the calamity in Ukraine through the way it disrupted my concerns about evidence of intent behind COVID. I said this not only changes the subject, but it establishes a parameter for a war like Vietnam, which has no rational purpose other than putting armies at each other for the purpose of depopulating. So genocide is in the works, and the puppet masters are the oil barons. Putin, Zelensky, Biden, Trump, that behemoth Netanyahu, are all in cahoots in scraping the bottom of the barrel for all the oil gettings they can. And they see overpopulation or overcrowdedness not as a human drama for learning about how to live in ecological premises with our societies, but as a danger to their inside circle. And of course, I've investigated the AIDS attack as a Falk Medical Library from 1984 when it happened. I saw things there was no social media at the time. There wasn't even internet. We're all seeing these things on social media. The oil tycoons, the leapfrog oligarchs, have done this in chapters and in phases and passages since the days that Gail Sheehy and Gail Burston circulated. The idea of this just being one of their passages has to be considered. That doesn't make the immediacy of rescuing the people of Gaza any less urgent, but it does put it into historical perspective. One of the things that's going on in social media that concerns me is competition from Africa, established lobbies who colluded in the AIDS attack. Yosu Endor organized them with the Green Party and Peter Gabriel. They completely destroyed my investigation for all they were worth. They cheated, they violated the rules of evidence, they refused to recognize what really happened, they lied. And the whole time they were working for a money bag, promoting Jeffin, promoting Clinton and Obama named David Jeffin, a Zionist friend of Netanyahu. So the truth has been crushed out because they claim that the fundamental reality is overcrowding has to be subject to genocide, a fact that I disagree with. I don't think it is a fact. I think what we need to do back in the day was establish eco schools and comprehensive understanding that kept the oil tycoons in line so that we didn't destroy the planet and create this mad urgency. Now, Flame Over Africa came out in 1974, and I told Endor these men had tortured me. He didn't care. He and Duvall said such things as, I know Bush started AIDS and I support him for it. These were black people saying this. So I don't consider myself answerable to Vanessa Nakate, whose last name was selected for McCartney. She was slyly uploaded into public awareness by a cropped photograph that is a Peter Gabriel strategy. When he wrote to me in 1980, he said, when you see something particularly fine, strike it out. In other words, they were just playing eugenics. They struck out the white, nobody cared, and they uploaded the black. Meanwhile, they went from 1984 to 2020 promoting Flame Over Africa, child mutilationist white people in the Pennsylvania coal industry. This is the reality. I'm not answerable to Greta Thunberg. She refuses to answer my question, did she know in advance about the COVID attack? That's all I asked her. She could say yes or no. But my Beyond in England is with Peter Gabriel, and they say that I did it to myself. I stuffed clay in my prick. All the sort of things the foreign English are notorious for saying about somebody they dragged through glass and tortured. They make sing-song Disney songs about robbery, assault, and battery promoting child mutilationists. Well, they also came on to me with a hooter. In other words, the Black Panther peep was going on with the NYPD. NYPD peep was going on. And see, I like these people, and I wanted to work with Africa. I put up signboards, and that was called disruptive, but I was trying to get attention to the Hunger Project, Buckminster Fuller, Nigerian relief, and divestment from South Africa back in the 80s. I did all of those things. But the white parochial establishment connived with Duvall and others like him in the NAACP, the NYPD Hooters peep, to justify insane cruelty and mutilation pursuant to covering up that they were working with Will Zell. Now, we hear a lot about fake news. What's the lesson of this to me? We hear a lot about fake news. One of the things that we know about fake news is that it does exist. People do lie in media. And the same people who are warning us about fake news and lying in media refuse to admit that Hollywood had the power of deception. Hollywood, Pentagon, Disney are masters of deception, and the Zionists are cold-blooded liars. They worked with Yoko Ono, David Geffen on Lenin's Houdini. I proved this. Reagan was not shot. His attorneys had me there that day. They gave me a brochure from Israel and Pentagon Disney, who were with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. I proved this. It's not controversial. It's not fake news. It's real. Double Fantasy was a deception campaign. It was the greatest practical joke in their view of all time. Now, Ian Wadmaker, who used the brain surgical chemical, neurohypnotic chemical, an illegal nerve agent on me that deafened me and left me with seizures as a very small child who they had battered and tortured. Ian Wadmaker took me to a movie called The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant, where a psychotic gets put onto the shoulder of someone he calls a moron and says, I have to teach this moron how to walk. Then the criminals in Pink Floyd worked it all through with Zell on Mount Desert Island, and through the Gurdjieff Society and Zionists associated with Geffen, to claim that I was not feminist enough and they didn't have to prove that virginity isn't rape because they wanted to say it was. And Fripp said it was pretty funny that this guy could frame himself for rape when the virgin who they're talking about denies that he raped her. That's pretty funny to Peter Gabriel. But what it was a nerve agent that was causing seizures that I didn't know was in there. You can see it now. And I admitted it was in there, and that was taking the bait. I admitted something was moving me to be very upset when she rejected me. That's all. That's not rape. Being upset when somebody, but it's not feminist either. They called it possessiveness. So I was the enemy within in the trance that they used again on Mackenzie Shirilla. This is nobody's propaganda. This is the war of Israel against the United States. They're trying to teach the Shiska America how to perform for them. And they've done this ever since Reagan killed JFK, which is what my research is about. The evidence is perfectly clear that they were behind 911. So we have to consider the possibility that there was an inside circle in Egypt, for example, who cooperated in making Gaza one of the examples of genocide that we're just going to have to live with, say, the oil tycoons. Okay, so that's a start, but it's not everything. There's also the fact that they admit that the evidence doesn't make sense when interpreted in light of the premises that they advance. For example, they claim that I was to blame for John Lennon's murder, which I deny ever took place. I had nothing to do with any of it, because of a script by Gail Burston. So who's Gail Burston? Their partner. How does that make sense? They're blaming me for something they did or it didn't happen. Mick Jagger went to Israel to promote Youssou N'Dour's views about Gail Burston, that possessiveness is rape because it upstages John Lennon's double fantasy. So you have to get over the hurdle. Since that doesn't make any sense, you get over the hurdle. And how do you get over the hurdle? By building momentum for more cowardly misdeeds rather than looking into echo schools. I'm not answerable to somebody who's into this stuff, but I certainly do admire the climate change ecology programs. I believe I should be paid for my work. I have been tortured, mutilated enough. I'm an old man with Parkinson's. The Black community refused to listen to my stories about the civil rights movement. They refused to follow my lead on the Hunger Project and the empowerment of Nigeria, and they called me interfering with divestment. They refused to investigate the Gurdjieff Society behind Mount Desert Island. They refused to recognize the evidence of alignment with Access Hollywood. They refused to discuss that Reagan was working with the filmmakers who first invented the burning cross for the KKK, a medieval symbol that was adopted from their film. They refused to discuss it with me. The NAACP was complicit in the NYPD genocide peep. They called it the Green Party. It wasn't just Black Panthers. It was Trump, Donald Trump, Putin, Zelensky, Biden, Sunak, Netanyahu. The oil tycoons in politics did this. That's what I see happening, and that's my opinion. I hope you can accept it and share it with others, because that's what the evidence says. This, if you look finally and lastly at what I call the TikTok war, you will see that there has been a campaign back and forth between Asian women hotties and the destruction of Gaza. It seems to be, frankly, a story of an elaborate montage about abortion being put on by the holy warriors and the oil tycoons. It's an elaborate montage by the feminazis, who are feminist Nazis. Make no mistake, Yoko Ono is a Nazi in the guise of a feminist. This is part of the NYPD PEEP system that wants to demoralize our love of romance. It wants to demoralize our love of romance while promoting the claim that John Lennon was martyred to mankind's biological condition. They even went so far as to use Pentagon Disney actresses that looked like Lennon, who were androgynous characters from Israel, to hypnotize the mind that eternity was an androgen and promote the hallucinatory realm of the Dalai Lama, where Greta Thunberg is the soulmate that metamorphoses into eternity through the ethics of Catholicism's abstinence against the sins of the undesirables who are overcrowding cities and making places like London scary resemblers of third world nations, man. We got to get control of our borders. If my neighbor gets a gun, it's common sense that I get a gun.